We gonna upset the literature nerds with this one today. Hey y'all, it's Harriyanna and I'm back with another video. Hello, my name is Harriyanna. If you are new or you're returning, I am the captain. You are not my first mate. I don't got no first mate because you want to know why? Nobody is worthy of being the first mate. Hello, my name is Harriyanna and I like to make content based off nostalgia and family and children's entertainment and all the issues that I find within those spaces. Now today's video is more focused going to be on nostalgia, as this was a book play, it's the same thing, that I read when I was 16 years old. I think I was 15. I was a sophomore in high school, but I'm pretty sure it was before my birthday, so I'm pretty sure I was 15 when I read this story. And let me tell you, Shakespeare is not the serve that y'all say it is. Before we even go any further, I just want people to understand that you are allowed to criticize Shakespeare, okay? You are allowed to get that white man criticism, okay? His work is not perfect. A lot of it is actually very, very flawed, and a lot of it is not good, but a lot of people don't want to address the elephant in the room when it comes to that, okay? You are allowed to have valid criticism on William Shakespeare's works. But like I said, his work is not perfect. His stories have so many issues, and if many of these stories came out today, all hell would have broke loose. Shakespeare is something that's just been shoved down our throats since high school, and if you're an actor like me, it's also been shoved up your ass. It's like you can't really escape his work anywhere, because when you're in college, you're gonna have to study some Shakespeare story no matter what your major is, okay? Because you're all forced to take literature classes. And as a newly literature English major, I know I'm gonna have to be reading a lot of Shakespeare in the near future, and I am not looking forward to that. At the end of the day, we are all forced to learn about William Shakespeare's work, and just because he is a very widely known public figure where many of us have read his stories and dissected them and have been using his works for learning purposes and educational purposes, that doesn't mean that we can't criticize these stories. Because I remember my teachers used to act so weird whenever we would point out how a bunch of the stuff in his stories be sus or stuff not making sense, and they will be like, oh, you just don't get it. No ma'am, it's just not good. I'm just tired of people acting like Shakespeare is the holy grail of literature, because he's not. But before we go any further, this is just the perfect time to announce this, because we are talking about a book today for today's video. I just wanted to let you guys know I have started a book club, and if you guys don't know, I will be doing all of my live streams on Twitch. So including my book club live streams, they will be on Twitch, and if you want to join our book club, I will have the link to it down below. The first book we are going to be discussing for book club is Forever by Judy Blume, because I got some opinions about that book, because that book pissed me off when I read it when I was 14, and it still pisses me off as an adult. So I'm just gonna have the link to the book club down below for any of you guys that are interested in joining, and make sure you also follow me on Twitch too, so you can stay up to date on when I go live over there. Yeah, we have to go live on Twitch now for safety purposes, because horrible people keep ruining the chats. It's just not fun anymore over here on YouTube doing live streams. As I mentioned earlier today, this video is specifically going to be nostalgia, as this is a story that I read as a teenager when I was 15 years old. I read it for class, and y'all, a lot of them stories that we read for learning purposes in high school, I just have some words about them. I decided to go through with making this because this story is one that I and many other people were forced to read while we were in high school, and I just have some very strong words about it for the most part. Then and I still do now, we are going to be talking about William Shakespeare's Othello. Now, one, I do enjoy Othello. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't like the story. It's honestly my favorite Shakespeare story. But that doesn't mean it's not open to valid criticism, okay? It's one of the few Shakespeare stories that I do truly enjoy, but there were so many things about it that just bothered me. And If you're looking for a good story about racism, this is not the one for you. Because the way race is handled in this book is not good. Othello is a bit revolutionary simply because it's one of the first major stories about a black man, just a black person in general. And it's just one of the first major stories about racism in general. And one of the first major uses of blackface in a performance. Yes, Othello's a play, by the way. It was performed by all white theater groups, and they did not want to hire a black person to play Othello, so a white man got up on stage and painted himself black to be Othello. Yeah, theater has a very racist history, y'all. Mess has started over Othello simply because people didn't know how to respond to this story. They didn't know how to respond to something that made them feel very uncomfortable, okay? And let's be real, racism is not a comfortable subject. Like, people have said that they've come to my channel before and they said my videos have made them uncomfortable when I point out racism. Racism is not meant to make you feel comfortable. It's meant to make you think, and it's meant to make you do better. You're supposed to learn. It was a good thing that Othello did come out, because racism is a topic that we need to be discussing more. But this story right here, it started off as a story about racism, and then it ended up being a story that just ended up being racist. Yep. Oh, William, he really missed the point with this one right here. I say that Shakespeare missed the point in Othello is because midway through the story, it's like a shift. Like, it's honestly unsettling how horrible Othello becomes. The difference between something being about racism and then something just being racist. For example, I would use Disney's Princess and the Frog, also known as the Disney princess for bad bitches, Princess Tiana, okay? So in the Princess and the Frog, there was a scene in the movie where Tiana she was denied getting a building for her restaurant. Now that right there is showing racism, no problem with that. But they ended up making her a frog for the entire movie. We only saw Tiana's brown skin for about like 20 minutes out of the entire film's run. That's just being racist. That's just racism. Now, what exactly is Othello in the first place? Othello is a story about a black man who marries a white woman. A white man who hates the black man. While some can argue that he had a crush on him, we're not gonna get into the Iago had a crush on Othello thing. That's a whole nother topic for another discussion, okay? And he does whatever he can to ruin his life after that, and then everything just goes downhill from there. This is literally just the overall of what Othello is. If you guys would like a better description of Othello, I highly recommend just go on watching Thug Notes video. I will have his video linked down below. Y'all, I miss Thug Notes. I used to watch his videos all the damn time. Can he come back, please? I miss him. It's hilarious and he can explain it a lot better than I can. Also, I have a recommended viewing for you guys. I highly recommend that you guys watch the movie O, 2001. It'll come up. If you just type in O, it's not going to come up, but type in O 2001 and then it'll come up.
Listen, Bob, this is a family matter and maybe we shouldn't be discussing it here. But he's a good kid. Don't do this.
I personally think Othello worked much better in a teen setting than it did with its original setting. I think this really helped the story a lot, and I really highly recommend watching this film. I really loved this film when I watched it back in high school, and I just really recommend that you guys watch it. And I am most definitely not saying that someone uploaded the whole movie on here for free on YouTube, but yeah. Also, I will be referring to O plenty of times in this video, so yeah, keep that in mind. Also, by the way, in the movie O 2001, Othello is referred to as Odin. That's his name that they changed it to, and his wife Desdemona, who ends up just being his girlfriend in O, her name is now Desi. But we just gonna keep calling them Othello and Desdemona because they basically the same damn people. They're the same people with different cuter names, okay? They're the same, nothing different. really think them putting Othello with a younger and more modernized setting really helped the story, because woo, we gonna get there in a minute, because it got issues. It got a lot of issues, but we gonna get there later. For now, we're gonna talk about the good in Othello. What isn't good about Othello? Because there is great to the story. I'm not gonna sit here and act like this story is complete shit, because it's not. It's great when it wants to be. What does Othello do well? Othello does a great job showing how white people hate black people for no reason, okay? That literally, if you want to take something away from this story about being a good story, or quote good story about race, is that there's plenty of white people out here that just hate black people for no reason. Like, Othello does everything he can to prove to these people that he isn't a bad person, and that he can take good care of his wife Desdemona and try to fit into the society that he stands out so much from. Not much has changed today in our society. Black people in areas where it is mostly white, and they do what they can to try to fit in with the white people and try to get them to be accepting of them. Like that, it's like that on YouTube. It's pretty much like that on YouTube too. I'm sorry y'all if my nose is like slowly starting to turn red as this video goes on. It's just my allergies are bad and my nose is killing me. It's just beyond it being with a black person and a white person. This also happens when black people marry into Latino families and black people marry into Asian families as well. They do whatever they can to prove to the family of the different race that they aren't the stereotype that the media pushes them out to be. So, hands down, the villain is amazing. Iago, I hate that dickhead so much. He is so fucking horrible, but he is so good at being bad. Top-notch villains. They don't make villains like him no more. They don't.
Nah, man, you can't just say some shit like that and just break out, man. What's going on, dogs?
You and Desi were going out for like 4 months before her father even had a clue. So obviously the girl knows how to keep a secret. Now, I know you grew up in the hood, so you've seen plenty of hustlers, but the one thing I do know better than you is white girls, man. And white girls are snaky.
Disney, take notes, because y'all most recent villains in y'all movies have not been good. I'll give it to y'all with King Candy, but Hans, no. Villain is amazing. He ain't likable, but that doesn't freaking matter. He's good at being bad. Iago's purpose in this story is to be a villain. Villains don't always have to be likable, y'all. You love to hate him because Iago ain't shit. He's just a racist asshole that does what he can to try to ruin a black man's life, and he succeeds, sadly. And because of Othello wanted to fit in with the white people so bad, he ends up becoming just as bad as his oppressor, who is Iago. The white people were racist to him, but they didn't really bother him all that much. Iago was the one that was really out there to get him, and he won. So sad. And that was Iago's goal this entire story, to get Othello to be just as bad as him. And Othello, in my opinion, it teaches a very valuable lesson. Don't believe what everybody gotta say, and not everybody is your friend, and talking to people is very important, because I am telling y'all, so much of the shit that happened in this story really could have been avoided if Othello and Desdemona just talked to each other. Like, y'all literally are partners. Y'all literally are dating. Y'all are both all up in each other's faces every single last minute of the day. Fucking talk. Like, so much of this story would not have happened if Othello just straight up talked to Desdemona about the shit Iago was lying to him about. Like, I'm sorry, but if somebody tried to tell me my boyfriend was cheating on me, I would straight up go to my boyfriend and be like, hey, we need to talk about this. Let's debunk this right now. That would have been the mature thing to do. That's why I said putting this story in a high school setting made more sense than how it was with these grown people, because high schoolers do shit like that. They listen to other people's opinions about their partners, and that affects them. Also, high school relationships, they don't talk stuff out. School relationships are just very immature to begin with, and I personally think Othello was just a very immature relationship with him and Desdemona. Just so much of this shit could have been worked out if they just talked to each other. Talk to your partner, y'all. It helps a lot. And not just with your partner, talk to the people that you care about. Please talk to your friends. Talk to your siblings. Talk to your parents, okay? Like, is there something wrong? Let them know. Like, he was telling him all these lies about his girlfriend and he was believing shit, and it was terrifying because those lies and misunderstanding caused him to turn on her, and by turning on her he ends up killing her and then himself. Yeah, it's bad.
Last time that I saw you, it was heaven. You said that you got off around 7. I guess that I'm just a fool. The marks on your face leaves me to stomp and pace. I don't know where you've been and why your hair is.
I know you're tired of having crusty ass lips. Wearing a mask all the time gives you no excuse. Head over to harriyannahook.com. Oh, you don't want that? Well, she has a bunch of other things to choose from. Don't worry. Pick yourself up something super cute because you're like super cute and stuff.
We gonna get there though. We gonna get there. We talked about the good. Now we gotta talk about the bad in the story because whoo, there's a lot of it. Bad. The issues with this story. Othello. He is the biggest problem in this story. Othello, the person who looks the most different in this story, is the fattest problem, okay? Othello, 1, he's the only black person in this story. 2, he's not likable. At least when we get to Act 3 and beyond, okay? I find it interesting how Othello's purpose in the story is basically, I'm not like those other Negroes. Like, y'all know that clip from Dr. Phil when that little girl that said she was white when she obviously was black, and she said, I'm not like, I'll never be like those Negroes. That's literally the energy that Othello gave in the story. But basically, introduced to Othello, he basically wants to let everyone know, hey, I'm not like those black people. I'm one of the good ones. As you know, black people are put out to be more dangerous than white people, which is not true whatsoever. That is just a racial stereotype. Go watch the ID Investigation Discovery channel if y'all want to have proof on what I just said. Othello in the beginning presents himself to be not like one of those black people, and then in the end he just ends up becoming one of those black people that he said he was not. He starts off decent and then turns into that stereotype that's always associated with black men, which is mean, dangerous, and to a certain extent hypersexual, but that was more in 2001 than the original text. We gonna get there. Keep that in mind though, we gonna come back to it. Tension for this story also defeated the purpose of it. If you want to look at Othello as a story about someone being easily influenced and making bad decisions because of that, fine. But if you're looking for a story that tackles racism well, this is not that one. Not the serve they think it is when it comes to stories about racism. If you're looking for a story that tackles the subject of racism well, specifically, this ain't it. Now, Othello is, like I mentioned, he's not likable for numerous reasons, okay? One, we just need to address the elephant in the room when it comes to this damn story. The age difference between Othello and Desdemona. No one knows their exact age, but from context clues, Othello is most likely pushing 50 because he was referred to as old in the story, and Desdemona is no older than 22. She's old enough to marry, but she's also old enough to be his daughter. Which is why I mentioned earlier why I recommend a modern retelling of Othello. Because they made Othello and Desdemona the same age, and yes, oh Jesus. As I mentioned, why I recommend the modern retelling of Othello, even though what he does in the end is way worse than what he does in the end in the original story, just making them both younger and also making them the same age also helped the story drastically.
Somebody needs to tell the goddamn truth. My life is over. That's it. But while all of y'all are out here living yours, sitting around talking about the nigga that lost it back in high school, You make sure you tell him the truth.
And also, it proved my point even more about how putting it in a high school setting helped the story a lot, because making him a teenager made it easier for us to feel bad for him, because he was still a child, he was still growing, he was still developing. Because teenagers and people in their early 20s too are easily influenced. They're all stupid, they all make mistakes, okay? They think they're all super duper smart when they're really not. Next, what else makes Othello unlikable, okay? Because he is slowly starting to turn into his oppressor, Iago, like I mentioned earlier, okay? In Act 3, which Act 3, if you guys know how 5-act plays work, Act 3 is basically the middle of the story. It's usually the turning point of the story. Basically when shit start to hit the fan. Othello becomes unlikable. And in O, in the middle of the movie, I'd say probably about 45 minutes in, that's when he becomes unlikable. Because the more he hangs out with Iago and listens to his bullshit, the worse of a person he becomes. And he begins to treat horribly because of Iago's influence is, you guessed it, Desdemona, his partner. He begins treating Desdemona like absolute shit. Like, it's not even funny. He treated that girl so bad and she didn't understand why. I'm sorry, baby, but I would have broke up with him and my boyfriend just turned on me like that. Like, he yells at her. He belittles her and he ends up hitting her. And in O, he R-words her. Yeah. Yeah. No excuse for that. No. Desdemona has no idea why he's acting like this, nor did he mention it to her or much of anything about it to her to begin with. Hey, off topic, I mentioned this earlier, but it just really got on my damn nerves in Othello how this couple would not fucking talk to each other. Like, that really makes my ass itch. Like, y'all literally be kissing each other all the time. Y'all literally are this close, like, all up in tongue and mouth to each other. And y'all can't speak. Y'all can't talk, but y'all can French kiss? I don't get it. You have literally slept with this person and you can't talk to them? You say you're in love with this person, but you can't talk to them? Okay, we gon' back on subject, because like, she is your partner. He is your partner. Y'all are together. Y'all should know each other better than anybody else. Back on subject, okay? Othello basically just turns into a dickhead and just becomes harder and harder to reason with because of how much of a horrible person he is becoming. And this really does affect his basketball career in O, as it should have, because his behavior was unacceptable. In the end of the original Othello story, he kills Desdemona, gets in trouble, and then kills himself. In O, he kills Desdemona and then holds all the other kids in the dorm building hostage with a gun. Ooh, Othello, Othello, Othello.
You tell him I love that girl. I did. But I got played. He twisted my head up. He fucked it up. I ain't no different than none of y'all. My mom's ain't no crackhead. I wasn't no gangbanger. It wasn't some hood rat drug dealer that tricked me up. It was this white prep school motherfucker standing right there.
And the thing is, like, he realized that he fucked up his life for good, because everything was already going downhill with him, especially all the stuff going on with his basketball career. He realized, he was like, man, I can't turn back from this. And after he realized that shit, he K-worded himself. Tragedy at its finest. Oh Jesus, poor Othello. Oh Jesus. Ooh. As this was one of the first major stories about racism, I don't think it captured it well, but it also I firmly agreed that if this story wasn't created, there probably would not be these many stories out here about racism created, okay? This story was great. It needed to be made because we needed to be having discussions about racism. But just because it was one of the first made does not mean it was well. Like, all the people be trying to convince me that a lot of these old Hollywood movies are well made and that they're good. No, these are not good movies. You will not convince me that The Birth of a Nation is a good movie. Yeah, it did a lot for the film industry. Does that mean that film is good? No. Hell no. As this is one of the first major stories about racism, I just don't think it captured it well because, one, the only black person in the story becomes the villain, and two, the story was also read and sent by racist white people. We need to get into this discussion on how the media responded to this shit. So y'all know how in the past, and sadly still to this day, there are places with little to no black people. Those white people read this story. They saw how horrible of a person Othello was. And that is a bit dangerous to introduce this story to someone who's, one, never really interacted with a black person before or never seen a black person before to begin with. As it can be a bit worse for people who don't really like black people in general, because Othello ends up becoming a bad person. The only person of color in this film ends up being just as bad as his oppressor in this story, and it is painful to see. As I mentioned earlier, it is a bit dangerous to introduce this story to someone who's never seen or interacted with a black person before, but it also can be a bit worse to people who don't like black people in general, because Othello turning into a bad person makes it harder to teach people about racism when it comes to this story, because they'll see how Othello became a bad person and they'll see that as a way to be like, oh, that was just an act. He's not a good person. He's horrible. So black people are horrible. Y'all get what I'm saying? Because of Othello turning into a bad person, it makes it harder to use this story to teach people about racism. Like, Shakespeare attempted to do something different with this story, and tackling racism, he didn't quite succeed with it. If you look at Othello from the perspective of someone being a horrible influence on them and doing bad things as a result of that, yes, Othello is the perfect story for that. But if you're looking for a story that tackles racism well, it did not pass the vibe check for that. That is the end of my Othello essay. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like if you want me to drag Romeo and Juliet next, because I absolutely hate that story right there. I like Othello, but I hate Romeo and Juliet. Because I'll do it. I'll do it. But that is it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. If you would like to see more of me and you would like to support me, I have a Patreon. Link will be down below. The most expensive tier I have is $5. The cheapest is $1. I try to keep things pretty affordable on there. I upload it every 2 days, every 1 day. I try to upload it. I try to update my Patreon weekly to make sure you guys are getting your money's worth for it. And if you don't want to subscribe to Patreon but you want to donate, I also have a Buy Me a Coffee link, and I also have a Ko-fi link. So yeah, all that good stuff will be down below. Don't forget the book club will be down below, and also my Twitch will be down below. So make sure you guys are following me on Twitch, because streams all happen over there now, okay? Another way you can support me, I have merch, super duper cute merch. Both of these necklaces I am wearing right now. Can you guys see them? My bugaboo necklace. Don't do that. Oh my gosh, what is it doing? My bugaboo necklace, and then my signature hook necklace, this nail polish I'm wearing, this lip gloss I'm wearing. You can get all of this good stuff from my merch at harriyannahook.com. I will have the link to that down below. What else is there to say? You guys would like to support me for free, I have a web show called The Progenies. The link to it will be down below. Hopefully we should have a new episode coming out soon. I can't guarantee any promises, but we should have a new episode coming out soon. Follow me on everything at Harriyanna, HARIYANNA. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good night.
Girls will just blow your mind. Buttercup like villains 3 at a time. Bubbles will smile while kicking your butt, and Blossom will lead them out of their rut. Cherish and Powerpuff, 2 of a kind. Both wanna save the world before bedtime. From Townsville, Memphis, New York to LA, the Powerpuff Girls are just here to stay.